Hey, two dads in the lab trying to be 2% better. Coming up today, live in the lab with Keith Bilous. What's going on, Business Athlete Nation? What is going on, 2% Better Nation? You got Keith and Dai here.
What's up? How's it going, Keith?
Good, man. So nobody knows this, but I just got a text from Dai. So Keith was struggling to get his tech together. I'm like, oh my God, it's almost going to be noon and I'm frantic. And then I get a text from you going, I'm having some tech issues. And I'm like, shit, man, so am I.
Dude, it was crazy. I was like getting right down to the wire. Anyways, I've moved everything to Mac a number of months ago. And every once in a while, I get something that doesn't work right. And that's what was happening. My camera wasn't working. I was like, what's going on? I can't do a call with Keith when I can't see myself or he sees me. Anyways, and then I'm spilling my coffee all over the place. Anyways, it's just one of those mornings, dude. How's your day going?
So I'm glad you asked. Thank you for asking me. I'll tell you how my day is going, my friend. So I know we're here to talk to dads in the lab and all of our dads. So we're sports fans too, Dai?
Here and there.
Are you a Canucks fan by any chance, or?
Listen, I've got a love-hate relationship for over 20 years with the Canucks.
Okay.
And right now I'm loving them like everybody is because they're doing really well. But I'll tell you, I've been through some lows with the Canucks. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. So I'm a Jets fan. Obviously, you're in Vancouver and we're battling it out in our conference. But my team left Winnipeg in '97 when the economics of hockey didn't work out. So I'm not going to go on a rant with you here because I'm just going to make a point here. So I wake up this morning to an article in The Athletic. The ownership group here is talking about the fact that things aren't good in our city.
In Winnipeg? Really?
And we need our season ticket base is falling. We got only 9,500 season tickets, and there's concern that the businesses aren't stepping up. And there's just a lot of questions. Today's not the show to talk a little, but a lot of questions. So I was around for the first passing of the Jets.
Yep. So I remember that, man. Gosh, it's crazy.
I was crying at the fork, dumped my piggy bank into a jar to try to save the team.
Man.
So today I made a point, and anybody True North listening to Uncle Keith over here right now, today I made a point to True North. I reached out to the entire executive of the organization saying, I'm concerned. I'm a season ticket holder. I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars since you guys have come back. I want to help. I want to help. There's a problem here. I can see the problem. And here's part of the problem, Diane. I'll bring it up because you and I are in the space. Actually, you're actually part of the solution because of what you're doing. And I think brands are not recognizing the quick shift of human beings that want to buy from human beings. And it's not 1980, 1990 marketing anymore.
Well said, Keith.
It's not broadcasting to people now. It's engaging with human beings. And I'm looking this morning. I spent a bunch of time on my local hockey team's social media accounts, and they're broadcasting like it's 1980, talking at and to their audience, not with the audience. Do you follow the difference, Dai?
Oh, I remember Gary Vaynerchuk. This is going way back, but I remember when I read his first edition of Crush It, the first book that he published. And in it, he talked about this idea of social media being like what did he call it? A cocktail party. And you're at a cocktail party and you're there to network and mingle and connect with people. But imagine going up to someone and saying, hey, how are you? And then turning around and walking away. That's in essence what social media is like sometimes, because you're right. We're broadcasting, but we're not actually, it's like the whole idea of talking or waiting for our turn to talk rather than listening to hear, to understand. And so I agree with you fully, man.
It's a talking act.
Yeah.
And it's funny, Dai, since you and I met and spent my time learning learning my LinkedIn game, the more engagement I have with everybody, the cocktail party's fun for everyone instead of just Keith coming up and talking that and then walking away. And that's what my local hockey team is doing. So anyway, enough of that. How are you? How's it going? What's your weekend plans?
My weekend plans. I've got both my daughters are on reading break. And so last weekend, my daughter had her final performance before she graduates this spring from the university she's at. She's studying acting for stage and film. And so we got to go see her final performance in a play called The Cherry Orchard, which is by David Mamet. Great play. They did a wonderful job. And it was great to see her really own a role that was outside her norm. She played an old dude.
Yeah.
So that was really cool to see. And she nailed it. And then my youngest daughter is here for reading break from
Yeah.
UVic. And so she's been hanging out with us and catching up with friends. And yeah, we got to go catch a movie. We got to go see, what was it, Madam Web on Wednesday night. So that was really
Fun.
good. And so yeah, it's been a very full week, and I expect the weekend to be the same.
That's
But I
awesome.
know someone's got a really busy weekend ahead.
Oh,
Speaking about being a dad and dad
yeah.
responsibilities,
Yeah.
what's happening for you this weekend, man?
Mr. Manuel, since we're here to talk about our kids and being dads, my two of my three kids have birthdays this weekend, actually. So I guess when the math was being done back originally, we just couldn't figure the math out, but it just had to happen that the kids came on. So Carter is up on the 25th and Piper's up on the 26th of February. So a Sunday, Monday birthday celebration. But because the kids aren't busy, they don't play hockey, they don't dance, they have no social lives. And because everybody's calendar is like nothing's happening, that we just looked at the calendar and couldn't figure out when we all can get together for dinner. No sarcasm at all in that at all, Di.
Wow.
So today we're going for a big family dinner. 9 of us are going to go to Earl's. Big
Dude.
West Coast. There you go. Yeah,
Can't go wrong with Earl's, man. That's a pretty safe bet. And Joey restaurants hit there yet?
we
Joey's?
do have Joey. We do have Joey. Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Joey's. I really like Joey's as well. Like they're all part of the same family, right? So it's the Fuller family. Man, it's amazing. They're great restaurateurs, and they're all based here out of Vancouver.
I know. I bring it up because they were both. It was Joey or Earl's. And Joey's reservation didn't work for us, so Earl's is where it was, and it's a 5:30. There's a group of 9, and so my boy. So here's the thing, Di. Here's the thing, and I think other dads can appreciate this. So my wife and I were having this conversation. So my boy's turning 17.
Yeah.
So he's not 16 and he's not 18. It's like the lost birthday, isn't it?
It is.
So is it? Do you creative? But you, I don't know. It's like, all right, happy birthday, kid.
No? Well, I guess it's up to what they want. If they want it to be a big deal, I guess it's easy to make it a big deal. My wife makes it a birthday month now. All of May is her birthday. And I don't know what's happened. It's ever since she hit 40. It's my birthday month. And she likes to let everybody know. Hey, you never know.
That's it. That's it. And then my daughter's turning 14. So she's in the 2 years of lame years too, because 13 celebratory. Hey man, I'm just being an excuse-laden dad right now. I'm trying to get off the hook with some responsibilities here. 13's big and 16's big. What's 14 and 15?
Yeah.
In the middle.
14 and 15, you're stuck because it's hard, right? Like it's a weird age because you're still very much a teen, but you're starting to battle. Like you still want to be a kid, and it's like it's tough. It's tough for sure.
Yes. So I know our goal today. You had something you want to talk about today. Listen, man, when we started this show, we started it 3 weeks ago. We've done a one-on-one with Keith and Dai for the audience to get to know you and I. We had our good friend Chad on the show last week talking about his 6 kids and that world. We had a couple of shows in the block for that. And then you texted me this morning and said, hey, Keith, why don't we talk about this? And what was that, Di, you want to talk about today?
I think the one thing that we all struggle with, and everybody, like not just dads, not just mom, everybody, is this idea of time.
Yeah.
And I constantly hear people reference, there's so much I want to do, but I just don't have the time. And also that sort of stems into the further conversation when you start to dig into that. It's I also don't have the energy. Right? And so I think we almost treat those two synergistically. And fair enough, they are, because usually we want to utilize our time to do certain things, to achieve certain things, to connect with certain people. And so because we all agree that this idea of time and time management is very frustrating, well, why don't we shift the perspective a bit? And you and I can carry a conversation of what we do, because I know we both live very full lives.
Yes.
But it's by design. It's not by accident. And so I think talking about this shift away from time management to commitment management.
Yes.
And then creating a habit of time blocking and really owning your calendar. Because I think if we talk about that, it can definitely enlighten a lot of people to the ways that we manage all the things that we do in a given day or week or month or year. But also we can talk a bit about the struggles we've had before we adopted that kind of a philosophy too, right? Because I know that's also what a lot of people can relate to. So that was my thoughts for today.
I like it. And I know when we started this show, we wanted to give actionable advice to our audience. We wanted them to leave the show. We're shooting for 20, 30-minute max. We're halfway through our discussion today. We want them to listen to us, be excited about what we have to say, and leave us something actionable. So I like what you're thinking about. So how do you deal with time management, Di?
I gave up managing time a long time ago, because I realized the more I try to grab onto time, you can't hold on to it, man. You can't hold on to it. It's not malleable, right? It's a construct in our minds for sure, but the world operates on the same construct. So we sort of have to play within those rules.
Yes.
And so what I decided to do a long time ago was this idea of managing how I commit to utilize my time.
Oh,
Rather than trying to manage the time itself, it's I'm going to manage where I'm committing my energy. And if some things are very draining, you know what it's like. We all have those certain people in our networks, and I go as
yes.
far as say friends and
Yeah.
family, even at times, that are just a drain, right? It's like you spend an hour with them and it feels like you spent 10. And you got to start to recognize that time allotment does require energy. And so it's balancing or finding more harmony between how do we expend that energy every day as well. But until we take hold of our calendar, man, we'll always be in this sort of game of, I just don't have the time, or, oh, I lost track of time, or like it's just,
You.
we never
'Cause you're always
focus on
chasing it, right? You're always chasing it at that point.
totally. And
Yeah.
like, what about you? Because I know your days are extremely full, Keith. You got a lot of show every day, plus a family, plus everything else that you do in your life. There's a lot to a lot of energy out, right? And
It's
I'm curious how you manage that.
it's interesting we're talking about this today, Di, because I said to my wife on the weekend, I said, since I've learned this,
Mm,
built this new life, my old ICUC life is gone. I had a routine. I had a guest on my show on Monday, Chris Rudin, who said, don't confuse your habit with your identity.
mm,
Oh, and that
yes.
relates to time because habits are linked to time. And I found my habits of the past, Di, were linked to
Yeah.
my old identity. So I've
Okay.
had to relearn my new habits with my new time. So what I've been finding out is new ways to block my time. I know my mornings up until a certain time. I block off time for just Keith, non-negotiable.
Yes.
And I've weaved in, okay, so I know that I work with some folks on the other side of the world where my morning is their part of their day. And I've had to work that into my non-negotiable,
Yeah.
but for the better sense of the bigger picture for me. So I've had to make some adjustments, but I had to learn that, Di, because I didn't know how to do that at first. And then for the show, I've had to learn how to block time. But it was a learning process for me with one thing. You talk about exhausting.
Mm,
My show's actually not an hour. I find when my show's done, the energy that I
mm,
take and give to the show, I need to actually step away for 30 to 45 minutes to come down
yeah.
creatively. So my time is actually 2 hour show. I've had to
Yeah.
learn that. Do you know what I
Good.
mean by that? I've had to learn. I've
I
had to
do.
block that going, okay, my calendar says 1 hour, but only for the first few weeks, I found I was always trying to catch up to my calendar because I didn't recognize that I was not adequately giving enough time to the block that I really needed. That makes sense?
Yes. It does make sense. I know there's certain activities I do in a week that involve a lot of energy out.
Right.
And I have to make sure that I create the buffer between those kind of commitments because I know myself. I know I'm going to hit a wall. And when I hit the wall, it's really hard for me to come back.
Yes.
Also, because I have a chronic autoimmune condition. I'm going back about 10 years, a little over
Okay.
10 years ago. It,
Okay.
it became very apparent to me I had to manage my energy better.
Oh,
You know,
interesting.
I just, because I found that there's a lot of things like stress, chronic stress, especially. That's something that we're all dealing with nowadays. And
Yes.
they'll go as far as to say that's our the real pandemic of our generation is chronic stress
Yes.
and
Yeah.
some of the complications. And so I know people that are in states of chronic stress, like I was, that affected my immune system greatly because I would have a higher propensity of inflammation in the body, as well as what was called a heart rate variability, which is a great metric. We don't need
Yeah.
to talk about it today, but we can go deeper in it next time.
Yes.
But that heart rate variability is a window into your neurological system,
Mhm.
your nervous system.
Mhm.
And if you're chronically high in a high place of stress, you probably have higher states of cortisol, not regulating properly. And so extra inflammation, sleep patterns, in particular REM worsen. So I would find very quickly that my health would suffer if I was overcommitting energy out.
Interesting.
And so I had to take hold, man. I had to take charge of my calendar. And like you, I started blocking certain pieces. Everything goes into my calendar now, like family time. I don't
Yes.
necessarily prescribe what it is, but I have blocks of time for family, blocks
Yes.
of time for my fitness and health, block of time for leisure activities, block of time for my podcasting. And just anything that has to do with my personal or professional life gets blocked in accordingly. But I also make sure there's lots of white space, empty space for me to do things on the fly.
That last point is the most important part, the white space, isn't it? Because I actually sat down with some friends in the past because I was neurotic with my calendar because I did an exercise one week. I said, okay, here's how my life actually is. I'm going to put it into the calendar.
Mhm.
I quickly recognized how much time I did not actually have.
Yeah.
Because when you're going, okay, so I'm going to have coffee for 30 minutes. I need to go to the bathroom, brush my teeth, have a shower. When you start taking all those moments of time, you're like, holy smokes, I actually have no time to do anything else.
Yeah. It adds up
It,
fast.
It does add up. So I found that exercise allowed me to pull back the stuff that wasn't important and
Yeah.
work on a blocking system, like you said, which is okay. This block of time is for this. And the diet, why is it that we're so quick to, as human beings, as dads, to schedule our time for our business meetings, for our lawyers and our doctors, but we don't do it for our wives and our children?
Hmm. To be fair, I think it's just also the way we're often raised. We're
Yes.
taught to look at business and being a professional,
Yes.
right? And there's a certain level of integrity that's required to be successful, or at least that's the messaging we continuously hear. And to be fair, I know that when I've been in roles of leadership, or I've been in a position where I'm being led by someone,
Yes.
integrity is very important for me to trust them, right? For
Yes.
me to move forward. So I'm not saying that integrity isn't important, but I think we weight things a little bit differently. We put a lot of pressure, especially as men. Again, I can speak to this. You and I are talking as men who
Yes.
identify as men, and
Yes.
a lot of the people in our communities that are also having these conversations are men who identify as men. So please, anybody that's out there, realize we're speaking from that perspective. It's a challenging place to find oneself where you feel like you just are never catching up on the energy out. And I think we prioritize energy for everybody else, but more importantly, as men, we typically do that professionally because a lot of our integrity is often attached to what we do professionally. And that's hard. It's hard to separate the two because we attach so much value to what we do professionally, not what we have on our personal side. And I think that needs to change.
What I'm enjoying about our show so far together,
Mhm.
Diane, in the last 3 weeks is that I'm learning from you. I never really So I've thought about energy because I bring energy, but I've never thought about it the way we're talking about it today, which is
Mm.
my time and the energy expense of it. And as we're talking, I'm reflecting upon my last few weeks where my energy's been really low and how the time is
Mm.
sucked out of me and I become ignorant of it. But in reality, I need to pay more attention to my energy related to my time,
Well said.
right? Because when I get into monk mode, you can ignore everything around you,
Yeah.
and then you wake up and the energy is all gone. I sometimes think I can overcome it, but in reality, you can't. Can you? You just can't.
There comes a point where it is a bit of mind over matter, but there comes a point if the body, quite frankly, just doesn't want to keep moving.
Yeah.
It's not. It's
No.
going to let your mind know. The mind's eventually going to catch up and say, okay, I'm listening, buddy.
Yes.
I'm listening. I need to rest now. And
Yes.
unfortunately, if we're playing that cat and mouse game of always trying to catch up, the way that you put it, trying to keep up with what we've committed to, that is in itself also a big drain of energy because we're just feeling this angst, right?
Yes.
This anxiety, this stress of having to. I know myself, and my family knows it too. Like I always love to be 15 minutes early, like always.
Yes.
I hate being late. I hate it.
Yes.
It's like the worst feeling. I learned that as a kid. And it's, you want to see me get really anxious? Make me a few minutes late, right? Like I will lose it.
Yes.
And so I know that about myself. So I try to create extra space, especially when I have appointments, to be able to get to places on time.
Mhm.
And so it's better as you better understand yourself and the triggers that throw us off our mental game or emotional game or spiritual game, we can start to again plan accordingly and block
Yes.
accordingly based on the conversation we're having today around the calendar. And I'm going to super nerd out right now to totally geek out. I do one extra step. I use Google Calendar for everything. I got it synced to all my
Yeah.
devices,
Yeah.
but I color coordinate my time blocks.
Me too.
And yeah, good. So what's really cool with Google Calendar, it has a time insights functionality to it where
Yeah.
it analyzes your commitments over whatever periods of time. And it gives you a nice little graphical representation of how much time is being allocated to all these things that you're committing to. And what I know is after a week, if I don't have a lot of pink blocks, that means I haven't had a lot of quality family time. And
Really.
so if all of a sudden I get to the weekend, I'm like, man, I feel just off. I'm looking at my calendar. I'm like, oh yeah, I only had 2 blocks of red, which is my fitness. And I only had 1 block of pink, which is really quality family time. No wonder I'm feeling a little disconnected going into the weekend. I want to change that. I want to set some intentions now to even things out a bit. And I'm going to allocate some extra time for family, allocate extra time for my health so I can reset and be feeling better for the next week. So it's that level of intuition, but also of tracking that allows me to literally constantly be optimizing or at least strategizing on where I need to get to achieve more recovery, achieve greater energy, achieve greater connection, because I know where the challenges are. And if we don't know where the challenges are, you can't change them.
Yeah, you can see him. Listen, man, our goal in this show is always to leave actionable advice. And as we wrap up today's actionable episode, you've clearly have left some for everybody.
Oh,
Listen,
thanks.
audience, we like to make recommendations and suggestions here, and Dai's put one out there, which is go look at Google Calendar if you don't have it, or if you do have it. And maybe you want to consider just trying out a week or 2 weeks or a month of blocking time and just trying that out. Try out a week, block your time for the week. And then after those 7 days, like Dai suggested, look at that calendar and see what colors rise to the top. What a wonderful suggestion, really.
Because if you start to wonder, why am I not seeing forward progress or the change that I'm looking to make? Because all of us are constantly addressing things that we want to change.
Yes.
The only way things change, you can think about the change. Yeah, that's a good idea. There's been proof, scientific proof, that if you just think about stuff, good things
Yeah.
happen.
Yes.
But if you think about it and you actually take action, it happens even quicker. And the likelihood of it happening is also far greater. I think the best thing that anybody can really accomplish here is what you invited them to consider, Keith, is just try it. What do you have to lose? You're feeling a
Yes.
bit frustrated right now with just how your day-to-day is running. What Keith's invited you to do today is just try this. Try the time blocking, try to color coordinate the different blocks. So I have all my professional time is one color, my call times are one color, my meetings that are involve me being in person are one color, online meetings are a different color. And like literally you can really customize things because you have recurring commitments.
Yes.
So they can be color coded. And because I'm a graphical, like I like imagery, right?
Yes.
And because of that, I love the color coordination. For me, it works really well. And I realize this isn't for everybody, but realize any methodology, when you first try it, feels foreign.
Mhm.
You just got to try it. And that's why I think what you invited them to do today, Keith, is makes a lot of sense. If you commit to 30 days of doing this, trust me, at the end of 30 days, it can be all different. But also, Keith, I know you've got a really cool strategy about goal setting, 10 by 10.
Yeah, 100, absolutely. Take your 10 days, put them into a block of 10, give yourself a free day in the middle of those 10. And now you've got 9 days. And more than likely, if you work on 9 out of 10, you're going to achieve your 10-day goal. So we're working on inviting the public to learn more about that in the coming weeks. But whether it's 10-day goal blocks or blocking time into a calendar for 30 days or 7 days, and Google's free.
I always recommend it. It's a free tool, no excuse.
And the visual aspect, there really is no excuse, is there?
No,
None at all.
it's easy. And I'm not a guy that often says things are easy. And I know it might feel like a chore to start with, but like anything, new habits are always challenging in the beginning. The more you do it, the better you get at it, and the easier and more natural it becomes. Like
Yes.
I'm at the point now, if I don't put it on the calendar,
Yes.
it stresses me out because I get that anxious part of my brain starts thinking, gosh, am I forgetting something? Am I forgetting something? So it's like also same with notes and journaling, right? Even though I always have a notebook on my desk still, even though I got like computer notes and all that, but I love it. If I got an idea, I put it down there and
Yes.
I don't have to stress about losing it or forgetting it. So
Yes.
it's just learning these different ways to ensure that we feel better,
I like that.
every day.
I like
Yeah.
that. I like that a lot. Dai Manuel, that's great advice this week, my friend. So we're inviting the audience, guys and girls, dads out there, go take your calendar, go take your Google Calendar, your Outlook, your Hey You calendar by the guys over at Basecamp. And one of the things that I like that Dai said, make sure there's lots of white space. You can actually overschedule yourself. That white space is your magic, isn't it, Dai? So make sure the white space is there. The white space is your flexibility. But we invite you, go put your stuff in the calendar. And Dai, would you say at first, would you recommend that anybody trying this out puts their wife and kids first and then schedule
Well,
the rest of the stuff?
let's put it this way. If you have professional commitments every week that are recurring, I'd say block those in. Like I would always block in my working hours. So my past company that I was one of the co-founders of, I had set office hours.
Yes.
And so I would block those in because those are set and they were
Yes.
recurring. So it was easy enough for me to pre-block those. But then I knew how much time do I have with the rest of my week? Because we have 168 hours a week. Of course, a good chunk of those are going to be allocated to sleep, but everything that's outside of those working hours is fair game. And so what I would do after I committed, because those working hours were a commitment I couldn't just not show up to.
Yes.
After that, I would then prioritize family and my health. And to be perfectly honest, I'd prioritize my health first, then family.
Yes.
And a lot of people, they're like, they get irate when I say that, but I'm like, no, my family knows that I got to prioritize my own personal health first for me to be the best version for them.
That is absolutely correct. I most certainly believe that because you need to be around at the end to take care of them. You don't want them taking care of you. with all respect to my kids and my wife. It's no, I need to be around to take, we all need to be around to take care of each other, but I got to take care of my human first. Just like I want my kids to take care of their human first before they come take care of dad, and my wife take care of my wife first before she comes take care of me. Well, I don't know that part. Anyways, that's for another show. Dai
I
Manuel,
love it.
we're going to wrap it up today. We're 30 minutes in. What a wonderful chat. I hope you guys all listening to us today took something out of our conversation today about time blocking, time management. Don't try to run from time. Embrace it. Dai gave you a wonderful suggestion. Grab your Google Calendar, sit down this weekend, block in your schedule, and then look at it. And then 7 days later, reflect on what the stats show you.
That's right. And that's a wonderful observation, Keith. And also just a gentle invitation for people that are feeling like just isn't enough for me. Like you have to recognize it's just like when you're feeling depleted, it's okay. You're probably overrunning, overcommitting. So let's just pull it back a bit and get a little bit smarter with how we manage that energy out and the commitments around bringing more energy in. Because unless you create the space for that to happen and you're just waiting for it to happen, I hate to break it to you, you're gonna be waiting a while. You're gonna be waiting a while.
Yeah.
And one other quick little note, because I think you really alluded to this, Keith, was if you're sitting down with your family or your partner, your spouse this weekend, my wife and I have a habit of usually going for a walk Sunday mornings.
Yeah.
And on that walk, we'll grab a coffee, maybe have a muffin or something, have a talk, but we sync up about the week ahead. And we will share what we're committed to on our calendars to ensure that there's anything that we both have to be at, we're in sync on that.
Smart.
And so I know that can be a really helpful tool to also bring couples more in alignment when it comes to how they're managing their week to week.
That's smart. That's smart. It allows you to look at the week together, doesn't it? In advance, instead of tackling it when the day shows up.
Yes. And you can share calendars. You can have a family calendar. Again, that's another reason why I love Google, because you can have as many calendars as you want, man.
Absolutely. Awesome.
This is great, man.
This is awesome. Hey, I hope you guys enjoyed what Keith and Dai had to say today. Two dads in a lab trying to be 2%, not 5, not 10, just 2% better.
Have some great birthday parties this weekend, Keith.
Thanks, pal. We'll see you next week. See you, Nation. See you, 2% Nation. We'll see you guys later.
See y'all.